All right, I think I'm recording. All right, objection with relationships. So let's start by figuring out what relationship we want to do. I'm going to say, let's go with students and classes. We'll have something like student can be enrolled in more than one course, and they join on enrollment. So it's a many-to-many relationship. By the way, if this is news to you, anytime you see this pattern in data modeling, that's many-to-many. It is identical to that. And what's cool about that is since that works in both directions, you'll see this shape all the time with your one-to-many relationships. And then when you discover one of those, that means that those two things have a many-to-many relationship and are joined on that thing. I think that's kind of cool. So, all right, we've got students, enrollments, and courses. We might want to say, hey, can you give me all of a student's courses? Hey, can you give me all the students that are enrolled in this class? And so that's what we're going to use our OR to help us with. Okay, so for the first part of this coding, do not follow along with this. You can take notes if you want to, but I'm going to give you the code that comes out of the first part of this. I'm going to go fast-ish. Feel free to ask me questions and stuff, but hopefully we're a little bit more comfortable with like some basic express and connect stuff. Okay, so we'll call this end school objection relationships. Cool, so nothing up this sleeve, nothing up this sleeve. I'm going to npm init-y. I'm going to install express connects objection cores while we're at it. I'm going to install, I need a database driver, SQLite 3, and that's probably enough to get started. Okay, cool. So since I want to send this to you guys one of these days, let's make it a Git repo also. And since I have a node modules folder in here that I definitely don't want to commit, I want to throw that in there so I can echo node modules into git ignore, and now I am no longer tracking node modules. I'm going to make an index.js. I am going to make a new connects file, so I'll npx connects init. It's the file for me. There's other stuff I need. I hop into that connects file that I made. I'll get rid of everything but the develop one. Cool, that's a place to start. We will make a migration. So I'll say npx connects migrate make create class student enrollment course. What's what I'm calling it? Course student enrollment tables. Done. While I'm at it, I'll make a seed. Connects seed make course student enrollment. All right, so I've got a seed. I'll hop into that index.js file, and I'm going to scaffold out an express app. So I'll say express is express. I'm going to make an app with it. We'll listen on 4,000. I also brought in cores. Throw that in there. You can use it. Make a GET request. That just gives us some confidence that our app is working correctly. So this will be like request, response dot JSON. And all right. Also need to set up a database connection. So we can do that with connects also. Bring in our connects config. And cool. I think this is in reasonably good shape. Okay, so let's make these migrations. So if I want to make all three of these tables, I'm going to return connects. Actually, this is a really good use case for async await. Like, don't do error handlings in seeds or in migrations. That's a waste of time. And that means that the async await syntax is going to read a lot easier. So we can do something like that. And we can await connects.schema.create table. And we need a student table. Students are going to have an ID. So that's user ID. And they're going to have names. And then we're going to make a course table. And courses have titles. And then we're going to make a enrollment that is like student ID and course ID. And we're going to make foreign key references here. So this is the equivalent of like the has many belongs to active record stuff. We need to do that at the database level before we do it with the ORM. It's like in table student. And it's like the same thing over here. Cool. I think that works. I'm going to do the same thing over here, just backwards. If async await is new to you, it's just promises. It's a different syntax for .then and .catch. Some people prefer it. I think it has lots of downsides, but for something like this where you don't also have to handle the errors, I think it's kind of nice. But makes it look like it's synchronous code. You don't have to chain stuff. So I'm going to await connects.schema drop table if exists. We need to do it backwards order. So do that, and then that, and then that. Cool. I think our migration's in good shape. Let's see that they are. npx connects migrate latest. Very nice. All right, if I go over to seeds, man, the way that T-Greaser, the guy who runs Connects, like structured this file is so bad. And he, I mean, it's just been this way for years. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Make that an async function. We'll await clearing out all the tables, so we'll get rid of all the enrollments, then we'll get rid of all the students, and then we'll get rid of all the courses. And then we will make students. Who showed up? We got Lynn. And Ben. And Haley. And we'll make some courses. All right, so I got 2 courses, and then I'll make some enrollments. So each one of these represents a student being in a class. So we say like student ID 1. Lynn is enrolled in JavaScript. Lynn is also enrolled in Ruby. Ben's all about that JavaScript life. And Haley's like, missed me with that JS. I'm all about Ruby. All right, so we've got some enrollments. And that should be good. Let's see if it works. npx connects seed run. All right, it ran. So if I want to sanity check myself on that, I can SQLite 3 into dev.SQLite3. Select all from student. Hey, there you all are. I can even do something like select all from student, inner join enrollment on student.id equals enrollment.student. You guys remember how to do this part, right? Inner join course on course ID equals enrollment.course ID. Yeah. Hey, and there's all of our enrollments. All right, so we're set up. And then over here, I think we have everything but the models and what have you. I'm pretty sure we're good to go. So while I'm getting this up on GitHub and you're cloning it down and stuff, what questions do you have for me about the thing that I just did?
Could you talk a little bit more about like the IDs? Because you hard coded them in.
Yes, I did. So the reason I did that is because we're using SQLite 3. SQLite 3 doesn't have auto-incrementing IDs, so you have to hard code them in if you want to use them.
Good question. I was wondering that too, because I was like, if you reseed it, all those enrollments wouldn't work anymore.
Correct, but we don't get a free auto-incrementing thing in our migrations like we do in Active Record. Even with other databases, if you want to do something like that, one of your things has to be table.increments, and that will generate the auto-incrementing ID. But if you don't do that, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't give it a default value or anything like that, just running it.
Could you also talk about the references line? I just want to like walk through the syntax of it.
Of the migration?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one?
Like 12 and 13.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just what it is.
So here, I'll turn off the relative numbers. So this is saying I have this column in this table. It should be the same as this column in this table. It's just how you do foreign keys in connects. Other questions?
Exports up, exports down.
Mm-hmm. So in Node, module.exports is like exports default is in Webpack. So it's just a default. You set it equal to whatever you want the default thing to be. You can also do named exports. And the way you do that is like that. And so this will allow me to export only one thing and then import that in specifically if I want to. It doesn't make a ton of difference for us because we don't run this code. The little connects CLI thing runs it for us. But it wants to distinguish between those two scripts. Good question. What else? All right. So I got this committed. I'm going to throw it on my GitHub. All right, repo is in chat. To get it to work, you will enter the following commands. You will go into the folder. You will npm install. You will npx connects migrate. npx connects migrate latest. You will npx connects seed run. And then if you npm start, it'll fire up the app. Doesn't do anything right now. You can sanity check yourself. If you go to localhost 4000, it should say cooking with fire, whatever the fucking thing there was. If you see something pop up there, or at least in good shape. Give you a sec to get that done.
Meant to ask about this earlier, but that echo terminal command
Yeah.
that just like writes in a file for you.
Yep.
Cool.
That's it. Well, so what happens is if you just type echo, it just repeats whatever you put in there, like that. So the way that command line commands work is they're designed to be chained. So if I have that outputting, I can redirect that output somewhere. So if I say echo hi and then redirect that into some file, well, now I have something called some file. And if I take a look inside of that, that has the contents of my shit. And then like I did 2. That's called, so the first one is called like a overwrite. So whatever's in that file, if it exists, blows that and replaces it with what you said. That will append it or just add whatever's already in the file.
So as a general rule, 2 for safety.
Yeah, like I wouldn't make a hard and fast rule about it, but yeah, like you are going to erase whatever else. Now, hopefully you commit often with your version control system. So if you blew out something you didn't want to, you didn't actually lose anything. But yes, the idea. That'll like write it to a file. Another thing that's kind of cool is, let's say I had some file that had some SQL in it, like, let's make one, some SQL file.SQL. And I just put select whatever from student, like that. All right, so I have that in a file. You can also redirect a file into another command. So if I wanted to SQLite 3, whatever that database is, I can redirect some SQL file into it and see the output. Fucking cool. And the last thing I'll show you is you can take the output of a command. So like in the first one, I said, I would like you to echo out this thing. If I want to take the result of a command and use that as an input to another command, like grep is probably a great example of this. All right, so if I ls in here, ls-l, I get those things. So I want only the lines that have package in them. So I could ls-l and then pipe that into grep, which just looks for the existence. It's like a filter, sort of. The things that contain the word package, and then I get back just those things. The command line is awesome. It's a reason this looks like 70s war game shit still in 2020, because it's that powerful. All right, give me some kind of affirmative thumbs up that like you're up and ready to roll. Looking good, very nice. So what we need to do now.
You still have your chat window up in the middle.
Yes, I do. Okay, so now what we need to do is is get objection going. So as like a first task, let's see if we can make an endpoint that lists all the students. So the express part of that should look something like this. And if I have some students, like that, I should be able to response.json those students back. So running that, npm start, cool, localhost 4000, students. All right, cool. So take a second, make your screen look like my screen. Let's get the actual endpoint set up. And then we want to make a model for the students in Objection. So what that's going to look like. Kind of like this, except even easier. Actually, we need to get that database connection going first. All right. So we're going to pull in model from Objection. And for those of you who've heard me talk about how that syntax, when you're using import export, is not destructuring, this literally is destructuring. It's one of the things. It's like one of two differences between require and import export. So we're going to destructure model out of this require. And then it's telling us that we need to tell it what our database connection is. So we can do something like model dot connects database. So doing those two things gets Objection like ready to go. And then our minimal model is actually even easier than this. Ours is going to look like this. Class student extends model. And then we just need to tell it the table name. So they have this like static get thing. That's like a little bit fancy. We can just say static table name equals student and call it a day. Give you a second.
So when you say const model equals require objection, you're destructuring objection to pull out its model component or class or whatever?
So you can think of it as require objection is referentially transparent with an object that has a key on it for capital M model, and we're pulling in whatever that is. We can infer from this that it's a class.
And we're applying that class to student. Cool.
Correct. We're extending that class or inheriting from it. So this is the only thing we're declaring on it. It also got all of the things that model has, which in our case is going to be a ton of behaviors and the ability, all these queries that we write, all that. All those are defined on model. And we just get those for free by extending it. All right, so if we run query on student, we get back a list of all the students.
Is this kind of like active record?
Oh yeah, this is like
Okay.
one-for-one equivalent to active record.
Okay.
It's just broken up into like smaller pieces. Like the query engine and the relationship engine are different libraries. They're the same thing in Active Record. Also, this is across the board way more verbose than Active Record is. And like, even though it's a library and it's trying to help us, it's just a bit more manual, but it solves the exact same problem. Cool. So if I want the students, what I do is student.query, invoke it, and that's going to be a promise. So we can then off of it and say, all right, take the students that I get back and send them to me. Don't need that anymore. So if I did that correctly, I should be able to hit that students endpoint and see some students. See if I'm right. Hey, there y'all are. I like it. Let's let this sit for a sec. I'll give you a sec to get caught up, and then I want to talk about this.
Forgot you got to stop the local host and then restart it.
And how? A way you can get around that, FYI, is you can install globally nodemon and then do nodemon whatever file you're trying to run, like index.js, and it'll watch for changes.
So then I would just run nodemon index.js.
Correct. Yeah, and it'll reload your server every time. Okay, ask me some questions about the no relationships objection use.
So if we want to be able to get courses and enrollment, we'd need to do the same thing that we did for students.
You're beautiful. So yeah, we can do that right now. So just courses for right now. Let's say and then yeah, we can make an endpoint for courses. So just swapping all that out. Student still works. My courses does too. And we're not going to make an enrollment model. You don't have to, actually. You only have to make one if you want to query it like this. We want to be able to see like what all of a student's courses are, or who all of a course's students are, but we don't actually have to have a model for something that just because we have a table in the database for it. We're going to use that like has many through kind of idea from active record. More questions about the non-relational active record stuff or objection stuff.
So course.query is just literally going to the course model and getting that information for us.
It's like course.all, same thing. More questions about no relationship objection.
It's just soaking in. That's
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about what these relationships would look like then. So unfortunately, we don't have like a has many or belongs to macro like we do in Ruby. Like I said, it's a lot more manual. So I pretty much always have to look at the examples when I'm doing one of these. But just like we do table name, we also make an object called relation mappings that has the things that we want to be able to look up on something. Well, let's start with student and courses. So static relation mappings like that. And then it's going to be saying like, cool, what kinds of things do we want to do? And this is like, what kinds of, what would this look like? Whatever you call this, and you can call it whatever you want, is going to be, it's a student.classes, person.animals, animal.owner. You put whatever you want to call that. So we're going to have courses. And that's an object also. And then it's saying, what kind of relationship is it? That's what goes in this relation key. And these things all hang off of model, so we have them all already. You can guess what all of them are. Belongs to one relation, belongs to many, has many relation. It's very conventional. So we can say relation model dot has many relation. Cool. So, and let me see if there's a many to many relationship. That's what we have here. Many to many relation. That's saying, cool, what is the thing that you are relating to? That's the model class. And this is like ultimately the thing that we want here. So we can say model class. It has to exist already. We'll say course. So I need to move this up. And then the last key in this is this join. And then we're going to tell objection how to make this many-to-many join. I'm gonna pause there. That's a lot. Ask me some questions.
Do you need a comma after that object?
Yeah. Thank you.
So do we have to put it on both sides? Like here we're putting it on the student, and then do we have to put it on the course as well?
It depends. It depends on how you want to access this data. If I want to say, hey, student, give me all your courses, but I never do it the other way, then no, you don't have to put it on the other one. You only have to do it if you want to be able to say Haley.courses. Or if I want to say javascript.students. That's this is me telling the ORM how to pull that off.
Okay, so like if we have like a user, we'd only really want to know the user's events. We wouldn't want to know like events and then all the users.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, you make these relationships like as you need them. More questions about how that works? So I'm looking at this example. All right, that's the name of the table. And that's the name of the class that I'm in. All right, so from is me. And whatever the unique identifier is, whatever the thing that's the foreign key in the join. So student.id there. I can then infer that this one's going to be course.id. And then you do that exact same thing for the join table in this through. So that's going to be from, what's it? Enrollment dot student ID to enrollment dot course ID. And see, it kind of like matches up there to there. Both of those are twos. Both of these are froms, persons, the person half of that. That's a many-to-many relationship. Ask me some questions about it.
Okay, so from and to are okay. So from is me as I relate to the
Yes.
enrollment.
Yes.
To is you as you relate to the enrollment, and then enrollment
Yes.
is like, hey, this is where those things are.
Exactly. That's where they kiss together. Also, all of this is like super database specific. These are table and column names. All the rest of this, that's server stuff. This is how I'm using it in my app. This is instructions on how to make that connection happen in the database. And then once it gets all of these things, it's telling, by the way, make those a bunch of instances of this. The syntax on this is like not worth memorizing right away. You can just look at these examples. They're pretty good examples. And then just try to logic your way through their example. And you'll get there with some practice. All right. So now let's say I want all my courses. Relation find queries. Related query is what we do there. So I can say student dot related query and then courses. And again, that's whatever I made this key there. That's what that's looking for. Cool. Let's see if it works. Give me all them students. Oop, something's mad at me. Unhandled promise rejection. Well, I should probably handle the rejection then. How about that? Catch me outside. So let me throw a catch on this. I can console.error the error message, and also response.send status 500. Cool. Internal server error, and it is cannot read property is partial of null. What would, so that's, I'll take a look at this again. I'm going student to courses, related query courses. So in their example, person, related queries, related query, the thing that I want to join on. This is sorting it. This is constraining it. This is like, I only want the first person's pets. That's like, I want the pets for person 1 and 2. If you see something I'm missing, feel free to shout it out. Let's try getting just one of them. See if it'll let me do that. Oop, that worked. This gives me all of Lynn's classes. And then if I do that one, all right, all right. Maybe it's mad that I'm trying to get every join for every person. That's allowed though. What about this one? All right, I'm going to try $sign related query. Nope. Ah, that's going to be if for like a specific one. Maybe it's, let's see if they have an example for us. Ooh, or maybe they want to do the for, but we can just say all. I bet that's it.
I was thinking that. I should have spoken up.
There you go. Well, it didn't barf. What if I do for student.query? There we go. Still give me all the enrollments though. Fuck. Yep. Oh, hang on. This might be it. With graph fetched. There we go. That's it. I take it all back. Student.query with graph fetched. And then you can put any other things from student that you want included in there. I remember, I've done this before. And so there we go. There's Lynn's classes, there's Ben's class, there's Haley's class.
Is that fetch being used colloquially, or does it refer to the same fetch that we know?
Colloquially.
Just as like a term that fits the action.
Correct. Because student has course and courses, and courses have teachers, and teachers have addresses, and addresses have cities. And a student can live in a city too. And so like these relationships can spiral out and then even go back on each other. So that's what makes them a graph. And so we can say which aspects of this graph we want to include with this. And we could even do stuff like put this in an array and then do something like also give me courses dot teachers and stuff also. Awesome. And that is relationships and objection. Ask me some questions about them.
So CRUD actions is a whole other animal.
Yeah, so but like they're not hard once you have this kind of thing. So what you're gonna do is it's a lot like active record is, where so you can just do person.query.insert and then make an object. Ta-da! Done. Updates, you can find someone and then patch some attribute of something that they have. We're into like active record level easy stuff once we have the models made. Delete by ID. The thing that's a little bit different in objection, and this is the case with most ORMs, where like you're actually getting an instance of an object and stuff like you are in active record. I see that less common. So we're not like getting an instance of a person and then calling like .destroy on that. We're just sort of doing it all through this static model stuff. I'd say that's probably more normal.
So
if you're going to do
weird.
that across the graph, then it looks like this.
Very weird being back in the back end weeds after such a long stretch in front end territory.
And how? So this is like, take Lynn and add a pet named Fluffy, where Lynn's the owner. Questions? ORMs suck. I've never met a developer who likes them. The only thing that sucks worse than an ORM is not using an ORM. Because like, it's one of those things where you're either using one or building one. And the one that you build is going to be worse. I promise you. Having built a few myself. Cool. Anything else we got to talk about?
I'm sure down the line, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy hunting. I'll see you in like 5 seconds. Bye.
Okay. Bye.